If the idea of New Year's resolutions makes you feel exhausted instead of excited, this episode is for you. Making lasting, positive changes doesn't have to be bold or loud or overly ambitious. In fact, research suggests that usually doesn't work.
What does work are small changes, positive thinking, and a dose of flexibility. We're calling this a soft reset. Let's dive in.
I'm excited for listeners to listen to this episode because I'm hoping that at this time of year, it will give them a little permission to give themselves some grace. Today, we were talking about the soft reset, aka the antithesis of New Year's resolutions. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the antithesis, but not the extreme that is a New Year's resolution. So,
yes. We're talking about gentle change, not reinvention, not an overhaul.
Exactly.
Because as we have all learned in past years, a complete overhaul does not work.
It does not. It does not. Big, loud changes are not sustainable. I think we all know that New Year's resolutions don't stick, but I did have to go and pull some stats on New Year's resolutions. So, overall, 23% of people quit their resolutions by the end of the first week of January.
Oh gosh, I believe it.
43 quit by the end of the month.
Okay.
And then it says that only 9% of Americans that make resolutions actually complete them. 9%.
That makes me feel a little better.
I mean, this is why. There's actually a day in January that's called Quitter's Day. It's the second Friday of the month.
Are you serious?
Yes. The second Friday of January is called Quitter's Day.
Yeah.
Most people have given up their resolutions by Quitter's Day.
So what we're talking about today is we are kind of ready to kind of make some positive changes. Mm-hmm. We've probably overindulged during the holidays, maybe not done as much activity. So what we're talking about is, rather than resolutions, how to do like a soft reset that focuses on small little things that could actually have a bigger impact than, you know, a New Year's resolution that just completely overhauls your diet or attempts to, or your workout or that.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes, exactly. So like rituals over routines, gentle, quiet growth and changes.
Small changes. Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. And, you know, I'm the type where I'm like, you know, I want that instant gratification. I want the big change.
Yeah.
But I will have to say, baby steps get me a lot farther.
Yep, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. So, of course, in true fashion, we started talking about this idea, and immediately Carolyn starts using different, like, vernacular for some of these things that we're talking about. And I was kind of like, huh? And she goes, or you go, I shouldn't talk about you like you're not here. And you go, well, like, you know, like the research terms that we have to look up, you know, because as I'm talking about this, immediately the brain goes to like, well, we have to find research to back this up. And so we did that.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk us through the first one?
Yeah. So we've already kind of said, you know, we need small changes. Mm-hmm. But again, like I said, that can kind of feel like you're selling yourself short. Like, oh my gosh, I can do better than this small baby step, baby change, that kind of thing. But there is something called the concept of marginal gains, or the aggregation of marginal gains.
I love it.
And you may hear it also referred to as the 1% theory. And it came from a British cycling coach. I think he coached for like an Olympic team. And he used it in his training. And it was, if you can improve just 1%, like in each tiny little area, like of cycling, like maybe just 1% in your speed, just 1% in your, I don't know what the other things would be, but you know,
right.
He said your gains are going to aggregate your gains are going to be much larger overall.
Yeah.
And if you can just improve by 1%, and I don't know if it was like over a day or just 1% a week, but in all these just little areas, just do a tiny bit better in all these little areas. And what it showed is like he makes significant training progress with his athletes because of that.
It's awesome.
And they were talking about how it just kind of grows and builds and multiplies on itself. And I was like, I love that because a lot of times, I feel like, oh, that's not going to do any good. I'm barely changing anything. But I really kind of like this concept. And it is right. They build on each other. They grow. You get some momentum, too, to stick with it because they're not hard to do because they're such baby steps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do love it. And I think that, like, especially when you contextualize it as the 1% theory, I'm like, oh, man, that, like, really is, like, a tiny change. But it does build over time.
Yeah, like, what if just every day we made a 1% change to our diet?
Yes.
1% improvement.
Yes, exactly. Or, like a daily ritual, like a 2-minute pause before you start your day. I've actually done this at times. And like what I've read about like the benefit of these rituals too is that like when you're making these tiny changes, it signals safety to your body. So it's not like, oh, I must have this consistency. It's like the routine of it feels like a safe place to land.
So even if you can't do it every day, when you do it, your body learns it and it calms the nervous system somewhat.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the second thing that we looked at when it comes to doing a little soft reset is the power of positive changes or positive thinking. And like, look, there's a lot of research out there about like, like think about like the Happiness Project, like all of that, like about like, positive thinking. So I was super excited when I found a fairly new study. I think it came out in 2024, and they looked at like positive psychological interventions. There was a lot of research from the COVID era of helping people see a positive outlook during COVID. But then they actually like analyzed the data from these multiple different studies to see if there was statistical significance. Mm-hmm. So overall, there wasn't a ton of statistical significance, but there was some clinical significant changes that they saw in terms of like having a positive effect both after the test and then at follow-up.
So the positive interventions, positive thinking interventions, clinically had significant changes at the end of the intervention and then at follow-up as well.
Correct. Yes. So that there were these mood-boosting short-term effects that they saw, and then there were overall long-term benefits for people's well-being when they looked at like down the line, right?
Yeah.
The other part I found really interesting is that the researchers said that women seem to benefit more strongly than men in terms of having that positive effect at the end of the test, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It wasn't saying like the men, there were obviously like the results overall showed that men had a benefit too, but that the women seemed to benefit more strongly from it, which I don't know what the reasoning behind that is, but I did think like, that is encouraging to me that like I could really reap some benefit.
Yeah.
Maybe more so than the guy sitting next to me.
Yeah. Well, and along the same lines with the positive changes, positive thinking, there's some research to support like with behavior changes, focusing on adding something rather than taking away. Mm-hmm. And when you're adding something, it's much easier to stick with. You tend to, again, gain momentum. Yes. No one wants to take anything away,
Yes.
So framing it that way.
Yes.
Instead. Okay, I'm going to call this third aspect of the soft reset flexibility.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and there was actually a study I was looking at. So the study looked at goal flexibility versus goal tenacity. Okay, let's take goal tenacity because I think that's where people kind of jump in with their New Year's resolutions. They make these big New Year's resolutions and they are just gung-ho the first week, 2 weeks. And, you know,
like
they have
all
that
or nothing kind of attitude.
They have that goal that's goal tenacity. It's the persistence in striving to reach a desired goal outcome under difficult conditions. And you're all fired up at first. But so this study looked at where did these people, well, they looked at people who were really focused on the goal tenacity, on just focused on the goal. And then they looked at people who had similar goals, but they were more focused on what they called goal flexibility, meaning the ability to view setbacks and then adjust your goal as required.
I love
and
this.
What they found over time is that it was goal flexibility that predicted well-being over time, across time. And the ability to be flexible, to adjust to setbacks, to create alternative strategies are really required for sustaining, any long-term changes you want to make.
I love that.
I know.
My the guy who runs my gym, who owns my gym, when I first started training with him, he would explain it like this follows along flexibility to me versus tenacity. So I would have these days where I would come into the gym and I would kill it. Like I would crush like my goals. I would really have a fantastic workout. And then other days I'd walk in there and I'd get started and I'm like, oof. I mean, I'm going to have a little pity party over here because this is not going to go well. And he always says the same thing. He's like, you were just making a deposit for a future gain. He's like, you come in, you do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be your best. Like you still just get through it. Even if it's at 60%, 50%, whatever it is, you're making a deposit for a future gain.
Yeah. I like that.
I feel like that's like, speaks to like another approach for goal flexibility.
Yeah. It may be $1 one day, maybe $20,
exactly.
maybe $100.
Exactly. Exactly.
But it's all a deposit. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, the fourth aspect of a soft reset.
Yes.
Manifestation.
So I got really excited about this concept, right? Like I've heard a ton about it. I'm sure all of our listeners have. In years past, you and I have done vision boards, and which we're definitely going to do it again for sure for 2026. But I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, would there be any research on manifestation? And I found this one particularly interesting study, and there was 3 parts to it. It was very like convoluted. So I'm not going to explain the methodology of it because it was hard enough for me to just like get through it than to explain it to listeners. But what I thought was so interesting is that they found that this like very interesting like paradox. So manifestation seems to be self-enhanced. Like people who manifest, it enhances
their self-efficacy.
Exactly.
And,
yes.
And their drive and their motivation.
And they have a more positive
and
view
self-confidence
of themselves and a more like positive view of their chances of success. So in terms of your view of yourself, we're getting improvement. However, when you look at it objectively, it shows little evidence of making an impact on objective levels of success. So like they did not find a relationship between manifestation belief and income or education attainment.
Interesting. Which
Which I thought was really interesting. So while it feels like a little, like at first I was like, man, maybe we don't want to talk about this on the podcast because it doesn't, we're not saying that manifestation, we're saying manifestation doesn't really work objectively. But when you look at the subjective component of
the
it.
self-enhancing power of it.
Yes.
Is really valuable.
I think it's very valuable. It is very, very valuable. And
so this is why I didn't end up on the Today Show in 2025.
Because Because you didn't do your vision
doesn't
board.
work.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's fair. It does not work. But if it gives you a positive view of yourself and it gives you it makes you feel like you have a higher chance of like achieving a goal or having success in something, like, look, let's not take a gamble. But if it improves,
But if that gives you power,
how
and
you
the confidence,
feel, exactly. There is nothing, like, to me, there is no harm in that.
yeah.
So make your vision board, hang it up. No, it might not all come to fruition, but boy, if that gives you the confidence and the drive,
Yeah.
get
And
after
I would
it.
say vision boards sound kind of cheesy, but we love doing them. We started doing them a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And they are so fun to do with a few friends, and they are very empowering.
They are, and what I actually think I enjoyed the most about them was getting to see other people's, like, our friends' vision boards, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I had no idea that was important to you.
Yeah.
Like, that was cool.
But you know what makes vision boards very hard these days is that there aren't a lot of print magazines to cut stuff out of.
I know. This is why I go to the office and I start collecting
Yeah.
all the magazines that I can.
thank
Even
you.
if they're like 5 years old, I'm like, who cares? There's something in here.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, or like this time of year, like during the holidays, like saving all of the catalogs that come to my house. Because
yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Maybe you want to put a little picture of a cozy blanket in your vision board. I don't know. But anyway, so overall, if you take nothing from this episode, you take this. You do not need to reinvent yourself in 2026. You do not need to start over. You just might need like one small change, one positive outlook, one identity or goal that you want to lean into. And
a little flexibility, ability to adapt.
exactly.
And positive thinking. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love this.
So, soft reset for 2026. Here I come.
Love it.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Happy Eating Podcast. I'm Brierley Horton.
And I'm Carolyn Williams. If you liked this week's episode, then don't forget to rate and leave us a review on iTunes. And be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a new episode.
We can't wait to have you back at our table next week for a brand new episode. Bye.
The contents discussed in the Happy Eating Podcast, such as advice, studies, text, graphics, images, and other material discussed or presented on the site or podcast, are for informational purposes only. Content is not intended to be a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your mental health professional or other qualified health providers with any questions you may have regarding your condition. Never disregard professional advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on the Happy Eating Podcast.
If you are in crisis or think you may have an emergency, call your doctor or 911 immediately. If you're having suicidal thoughts, call 1-800-273-TALK, that's 8255, to talk to a skilled, trained counselor at the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. If you are located outside the United States, call your local emergency line immediately.